Words matter. What a group chooses to call themselves matters. Take the example of Methodist. What it means to be a Methodist is to believe there is a method to holy living. Take the example of Orthodox. What it means to be Orthodox is to believe that they are the correct teaching, that they're carrying on the apostolic teaching. Catholic. What it means to be Catholic is to be the universal church, the universal church for all times, all places. And I think what we call ourselves is a very important thing. And I know among my fellow Universalists, there is some debate over what we should call ourselves. Some people are very uncomfortable with the word Universalist, and this is a bit of an opinion piece. It's not the hill I'm going to die on, but I think that continuing to use the word Universalist in particular is very important. And I think a big reason why people don't like the word Universalist is that they assume that it's an alien word, that's an imported word, that it is a word that means something else outside of Christianity, and then we just import it in and kind of made it our own. But that's actually not true. The word Universalist actually has a Christian meaning, a Christian origin. It comes around the 1620s, so about 400 years ago, meaning believers and Christians who believe in universal salvation. It comes from the word universal salvation, the term universal salvation. That's what being, Universalism, Universalist means, to believe in universal salvation through, of course, Jesus Christ. And that's where it comes from. And until very recently, Universalism was exclusively a Christian thing. To call yourself a Universalist means you were Christian. And what I found is that one of the biggest reasons why liberals, progressives, attacked our denomination in particular and wanted our denomination, the Universalist Church, is the word Universalist. They really like that word. And that's because, as I talked about before, the word originally means universal salvation. But the more progressive people, they like the word Universalist because it would mean, all religions. It means like drawing upon all religions. And to them, it also meant like a universal brotherhood of man. And that's what they like the word Universalist. And as the Universalist Church continued to water down its message and become more and more liberal, liberals really like the Universalist Church because what they realize is that really there's no difference now as the Universalist Church watered down its message between a Universalist Church and most other local mainline churches that themselves were becoming liberal, and they realized the only real difference was the word on the building, and that's Universalist. And they went for the Universalist Church because they liked that word, Universalist. Then the Universalist Church was struggling at the time because every other denomination was becoming about the same. And I think of a quote from about the turn of the century. A lot of these liberal Universalists, these progressive ministers who wanted to go beyond Christianity, they started to say, "You Universalists," and it was short for, I'm paraphrasing here, but pretty much the quote went like this: "You Universalists, you have the biggest word you've held on to the biggest word in the English language, and now the whole world wants that word. So you better improve on the property or get off the premises." That was said by some liberal ministers to each other. And what that means is that the word Universalist is such a big word. I mean, universalist, and of course, originally coming from the term universal salvation. But now they could rewrite the word to mean whatever they want it to mean. And of course, they wanted it to mean all religions we can draw upon all religions, and we can focus on the universal brotherhood of man. And that's what they began to focus on and recall themselves Universalists. And for that reason, I want to keep the word Universalist because it's what we've called ourselves, at least we English speakers have called ourselves for 400 odd years now. We've been calling ourselves Universalists for a very, very long time. And as I said before, what a group calls themselves matters so much. Your name matters so much. As I talked about other groups before because based on their name alone, you can learn a lot about what that group means. Methodist, they're all about holy living. Orthodox, they're all about correct teaching. Catholic is about the universal church. And Universalist is about universal salvation. And for better or for worse, we're kind of married to this word. No other word has really come about. I've heard some people throw around the word restorationist. And the funny thing is, a lot of people don't understand the history of the word restorationist in the Universalist tradition. That comes from a time in the Universalist Church about 1800 or so, in the early 19th century, where there was a big divide between ultra-Universalists, those who didn't believe in hell at all, and believe that everybody goes to heaven when you die, and restorationists, as we can be called, who believe in a temporal hell. And that's what the vast, vast majority of Universalists throughout history, and especially today, have been, are restorationists, and I am a restorationist as well. And it's just funny to me that people throwing around the word restorationist, they don't understand the history behind it either. And I do like the word restorationist, but it's just, it's not, we're not as tied to it as other words because, for instance, restorationist also refers to groups like the Church of Christ, Disciples of Christ, these these restorationist movements. I thought they were bringing back primitive Christianity, and even restorationists can be used to refer to other groups like Mormons or Jehovah's Witnesses and stuff like that, who believe they're restoring primitive Christianity. And I do like the word restorationist, but to me it's secondary to universalist. It's like if I want to get more specific into the weeds of what type of universalist I am, I'll say I'm a restorationist. But I really like the word universalist because of the history. It's what we've called ourselves for hundreds of years, and for better or for worse, we're kind of stuck to it. But what really convinced me that we really need to fight for this word in particular is when I looked it up on various accounts over time just to get curious what was showing up, whether it be articles or videos. And what I found is that the vast majority of the time, the word universalist is going to get you either universalist content made by universalists like myself defending universalism, or it's going to be smear campaigns against universalism. But most of the time, when it comes to the religious aspect of the word, universalism is referring to Christian universalism. Even if the people trying to go against it don't consider us Christians, they acknowledge that we're a movement within Christianity. And the other time you'll find it is, of course, the Unitarian Universalist Church. Ironically, of course, the Unitarian Universalists, they mostly just call themselves Unitarians, and Universalism is kind of like the forgotten part of that church. They mostly are just Unitarians. It's often called a merger, but it was more like a buyout. Unitarians vastly outnumbered the Universalists in the merger of 61, but I digress. But it is true that universalism has taken on a bad connotation. A lot of people assume that being a universalist means you're like a religious pluralist, that you believe all religions lead to God, or that you're a UU or something like that. And I'm not going to lie that universalism has not gained a bad connotation, but it's the word our ancestors used to describe themselves, and it's a word that I think we're stuck with. The vast majority of us still call ourselves universalists, and for better or for worse, I think we're stuck with this word. I don't think we've been able to find another word, and it's actually just a nice name. When I talked with a friend a while back about universal salvation, he's just like, I like the sound of it, universalist, and there is something about the word. It does sound really nice, universalist. It's a very pretty word, and I just think that it does have a lot of bad connotations, but it is still a word that we're stuck with, and it's the word of our ancestors. So I think that we should fight for our heritage, because I've talked about before, I do not like the UU, and I'm a big believer in preserving our heritage as universalists. And I think a part of defending our heritage is defending our name. A name is so important. It tells so much about who you are and what you believe. If a church calls themselves this or that, that tells you a lot about who they are. And the fact that we call ourselves universalists is very important. So I think we need to keep calling ourselves universalists because it's our name, it's our heritage. And even though it's been corrupted, the word universalist origins are very pure, a believer in universal salvation. And I think that we should continue to call ourselves universalists because, well, honestly, I don't think there's really any other option. I don't think any other word's really taken off. But also, I think it's important to fight for the things that we've been given. Our ancestors were given by God. And one of the things our ancestors were given by God is that really great name, universalist. And it's a really great word. A lot of people want it. That's why it's come to mean all these different things. Everybody wants it because it's a very nice sounding word, universalist. And I think we should continue to fight for it. Well, y'all have a good day. God bless. And it's fine if you disagree with me. This isn't really like my hill to die on. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, and Christ will conquer.